Hi everyone, you should be on RN4. We are going to talk about multiplying and dividing signed decimals. Now, as you begin looking at these notes, there are two things you're going to need to remember. First of all, the rules have not changed. I am going to multiply and divide decimals just like I've always multiplied and divided decimals. So when I multiply decimals, I multiply the numbers as usual, and then I count up the decimal places. I'm going to use the integer rules to determine the sign of my product. So let's look at number 1. I am multiplying a positive times a negative, so I know that my answer is going to be negative. Now what I want to do is I just want to do that computation. So I'm going to multiply like I always do. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. If you leave a 0 when you begin to multiply by the second number, if you put an X there, however you do that, 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 3 is 12. I'm going to add. Now, there's my number answer. So I now I have 2 decimal places. So I'm going to move that decimal point 2 places. And my answer is negative 13.76. That's all there is to sign decimals. Number 2, I'm multiplying 2 negative numbers. I know that my answer will be positive. So now I just go through and I multiply. 7 times 2 is 14. 21 plus 1 is 22. 28 plus 2 is 30. 2 times 2 is 4. 6, 8, and add. 4, 6, 6, 11. Count your decimal places. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And my answer is positive 11.664. Okay? Number 3. I know my answer is negative. So now I just need to do the computation. 3.1 times 1.2. 2 times 1. 2 times 3. 1 times 1. 1 times 3. Add. Count your decimal places. 1, 2, 3. Move my decimal point. Negative 0.372. And that's a 2 there. Negative 0.372. And then finally, number 4, I know my answer is positive. 1.4 times 0.2, that's 8, that's 2. Now, I have 2 decimal places, and positive 2800s, 4.28. Okay. So all there is to multiplication. Multiply like you always do. Use your integer rules for signs. Okay. Now, when we're dividing, rules again have not changed. If I'm dividing by a decimal, I have to move the decimal point in the divisor to the right to make it a whole number. Move the decimal point in the dividend, the same amount, and then put that decimal point up on the top. Divide as normal. Use integer rules to determine sign of the quotient. So, as I look at number 1, 25.2 divided by negative 0.2. And now my answer is going to be negative. 25.2 is my dividend. 0.2 is my divisor. I need to move the decimal point. And now I divide. 2, bring down your 5. 2 goes into 5 2 times. Multiply, subtract, bring down, times 6. That terminates. So my answer is negative 126. All right. Number 2. Here again, I'm dividing two negative numbers. Notice that my answer will be positive. Again, 7.29 is your dividend. 9 is your divisor. Now notice that there is no decimal point, so I don't need to do any moving. Can't divide 9 into 7, so I divide 9 into 72. That's 8. 8 times 9 is 72. Bring down my 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1, and that terminates. My answer is 81 hundredths. Number 3. I already know my answer is going to be negative. Dividend is 1.15. The divisor is 0.5. I'm going to move my decimal point one place, and then put that up there in my quotient. 5 goes into 11 2 times. 2 times 5 is 10. Subtract. Bring down. 5 goes into 15 3 times. And again, my decimal terminated. Negative 2.3. So I'm dividing a negative by a positive. Finally, number 4. I know my answer is negative because one is positive and one's negative. 4.20 is my dividend. 0.07 is my divisor. I need to move the decimal point 2 places. Put that up in where my quotient will be. 7 goes into 42 6 times. Subtract, bring down. 7 goes into 0 0 times. Negative 60 is my answer. If you have any questions, make sure you bring them to class with you tomorrow.